Everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 44, technically, of Natsume's Book of Friends, season 4, episode 5? Yeah. It's just so crazy. We are powering through season 4 already. We are going to go through season 4 so fast because we have this episode this week, and then next week, looking ahead at I got my little high-Q notepad that keeps track of my episodes. Next week we have a two-parter, which is going to be episodes 45 and 46 together. Then we have episode 48, and then we round out the month with episodes 48 and 49 together. We're going to be nearly done with season 4 going into February. We are speed running. And I would like to take my time more with Natsume Book of Friends season 4, but the moderators are like, you really need to watch those episodes together. So I was like, okay, say no more, but that's so wild to me, right? Meanwhile, you all are enjoying season 7. So hope you're having fun. But yeah. So I have some comments I want to talk about before we dive into episode 44, which is super great. These are from back a few episodes ago, because since we're going so quickly through season 4, I've been able to record quite a bit ahead. So these comments are from really season 3, episodes 11 and 12. The one that was from episodes 10 and 11, the mirror episode in season 3, is from Sparata6232 that says, Tanuma and Natsume scenes, please stop being precious. The challenge is impossible. But also, they've both officially at this point in season 3 been possessed by blue yokai ladies. And I was like, oh, I had not realized that, but yeah, that's a nice little common ground that they have for each other. You know, they could just sit down and talk about that. Over some, some nice like glasses of orange juice because they're underage. But I thought that was a really cool thing to point out. So thank you, Sparata. And then with season 3, episode 12, which is the episode with the yokai spirit that follows Natsume, and it's the, finding a home where you belong episode. And at the very end, Natsume is like welcomed back by Toko and Shigure. You know the episode. I had 2 comments that talked about it. One is very fluffy and happy, and the other one sheds a very dark light on that episode that I hadn't quite thought of, and after reading it I was like, oh my god. So the first comment is from Ivan over on Patreon, who said, rewatching this, the yokai in the episode sort of feels like an analogy to suicide. And I was like, oh. So there's a little bit of a content warning here because we're going to talk about this, but we're all adults, we can hear this. But they pointed out in the comments saying Natsume's initial aversion to vanishing with the yokai being that it would cause trouble for his foster family, not a worry for the state of his own life. Natsume's foster mother wondering if Natsume's fall was to hurt himself. It makes more sense, and although no more or less asshole-ish on their parts, if it was assumed by the people around him that the fall was instead a jump. It adds layers to Shiguru saying that what Natsume needs is a quiet place if the context the Fujiwaras were working off of was helping the rumored trouble child they wanted to take in any way recover from a suicide attempt. And that comment made me stop and reevaluate this entire series. Not to say that Natsume is like that now. He's not. But in episode 12, just all of that detail and context and the idea of the quiet place and the family taking him to a new place and everything and then like taking him in, it adds a whole layer there. So whether the mangaka intended for that reasoning or that interpretation or not, you could make that interpretation, and it really struck home to me and made me look at Natsume with a whole new layer on top of everything else that we've layered him with so far in this series, which is crazy. So yeah, that's incredible. So thank you, Ivan, for pointing that out. I had not even thought about that, and that changes so much. I can't wait to get further in this series and then the manga and see if the mangaka talks about any of it at all. Be interesting. Sunspots' comment is a little bit more happy though. They point out saying in this episode 12 of season 3, if I can talk this week, what is most interesting to me is seeing a Natsume who is still capable of anger. I don't think we've seen much of that in the current timeline of Natsume. Unfortunately, the anger is almost entirely directed through his self-loathing and not on behalf of himself against mistreatment, abuse, and neglect. I've been very impressed with the creators of both the manga and the anime in terms of the portrayal of the effects of this kind of childhood neglect. the difficulty with processing and expressing emotion, tremendous difficulty with trusting others to any degree, people-pleasing tendencies that also include tamping down any expression of negative emotions or opinions, low self-esteem, lack of self-worth, and etc. Yeah, I feel like the anger, Natsume's not somebody that normally gets angry until, this comment was made at the end of season 3. And then we've seen in this season with Matoba, Natsume actually get angry, which was really, really exciting. I was like, oh, he's actually getting mad. But that is a good point that up until the show started, Natsume's only anger seemed to be towards himself. And not the way that he was being treated, but literally self-loathing, which is not the healthy way to do it. So I love these comments because they not only show us how far Natsume has come, but also show us that the situation he's in now and how much growth he's had, especially in this 4th season. Oh my God. And he's expressing all these emotions and everything. Like it's a very cool way of seeing Natsume in a light that we haven't seen before. And I'm kind of all about it. So thank you all for those comments. I really appreciate it. But with that being said, we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right in and see what happens for our sweet, sweet Natsume because I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well. So without any further ado, we are going to dive into Natsume's Book of Friends, Season 4, Episode 5. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I know it's not a country song, but I keep on the opening little jingle. I was thinking about the OP and how it could be. I'm sure people will interpret the OP in the comments by the time that y'all get to season 4. But I kind of like to think that it shows, again, how far Natsume has come from being afraid to growing into the young adult that he is, Got some phlegm in my throat. Not acceptable. And also him going from being by himself to being with the yokai and other humans. I think that's something that's so cool to see for him. Aww. Honestly, the little Kappa has become one of my favorite little side characters. I mean, I like Mitsuru and Chobi and Hinoue, but the little Kappa is so cute. And he seems so innocent. I wonder if Madara ever met Natsume before, but he was trapped inside the little box, so surely not. Maybe that's just a metaphor. Aww. Also, with the whole suicide angle, do you think that they question like some of the injuries he's had? Because Toko seems a bit worried about him, so that adds another layer to it. Interesting. Oh, who be this? Into the shrine. This seems like the shrine from the last episode. Are you off to fight Evangelions after this? Oh. Oh shit! Oh girl! No! Oh girl! What? Oh shit! Oh! Oh shit! Oh! Oh shit! And she has an Atori poster! Wow. Unloved. I can't get over it! And the Kappa! What? Interesting that these are 3 people we don't know. Oh. Oh! What? From bygone days. Was this an Attack on Titan title? What? Oh. long ago was this? Because she doesn't have glasses there. Oh, how long ago was this? Oh! Oh shit! What? What? Why? What? Yuriko, what is happening, girl? Yeah, he kicked me today. Uh. When was this? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh. So, is this when he is still in grade school? Or maybe it's middle. It has to be middle school. Why are all these people obsessed with him making stuff up when he's a kid? He did kick me today. Oh, that's so mean. Huh. Huh. Very 500 Days of Summer. Oh. Oh. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh. He's so much gloomier than he is now. I mean, kind of. He's like half baked. He's not quite to the Natsume that we knew and we know now. Uh. Oh. Oh, that was cold. That was really cold. Middle school years were rough for Natsume. I mean, oh wow. Oh. I don't like seeing Natsume like this. I don't like seeing Natsume being like gloomy pre-adolescent. He can't be that bad. He plays with cats. Oh. Oh. And she's just standing there. And her kappa. Has she got a Tory poster there too? Huh. Hmm. Huh. Why does it sound like a wailing for a second? Aw. Oh. Oh, Yuriko, go for it, girl. Aw. Oh, that's really sweet. Oh, how's he gonna react if you ask him, though? Yeah, probably. I really like her character. Oh. Why is the mom gonna be an ass? She's gonna be an ass. Oh, why are you gonna be this way? Yeah, he was nice to her. Yes. He's just going through a lot of shit. Oh. 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 But I don't think he's, well, he's obviously not breaking them. I'm being chased by ghosts! Get a better budget like the school I'm at now. Oh. 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 She clearly knew. Oh. Oh, I love Yuriko. And it's that lady that was from the other episode, isn't it? Oh. Oh no. Oh. I mean, I guess that's for the better, but oh. Sho, why you gonna make me so sad? Oh. Yeah, okay, so they were in middle school. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Oh, well. Okay, so somebody different. I was not thinking of him. Oh. Oh. I mean, because you're friends with him. Uh-huh. Oh. Come on. Oh. I really like Yuriko. She's so sweet. Uh. Oh my god, why is it so cute? Oh my god, make it stop. It's too adorable. Give me it. Oh my god. No, look at it. Look at, oh, it's just, look at it. Stop. Just stop and look at, oh my, oh my, cling bug. bugs. They're so freaking cute. Look at it. Oh. Oh. Oh, we're getting it from his perspective. Oh. 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 Oh no. Oh. And he didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know it was harmless. Oh. 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 Oh, because you like, did I hurt it? Because he's so nice. Oh. Oh shit! Well, never mind. Oh my god! Oh! 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 Does it have a tennis ball in its mouth? It does! Why? Oh no! Oh my god! Why is it after these little harm? Oh, it's the same one! What? Why do you care about it? What? Oh my god. Oh my god. What? I was just gonna say go to another town transfer. Oh. Oh my god. And that's why he was running the other day, that she saw him. And that's why he passed out and she met him. Oh, and that's when all that started. Oh, oh. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. Right. He's just chasing people. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god, why? Oh no. Oh my god. But why? Oh. Did Natsume not know he could just kick his ass? I guess he didn't. Oh. Oh. Oh my gosh. I just like the random tennis ball in his mouth. It's ridiculous. Oh. 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 Hmm. Oh. And why'd you break the windows and make my life hell for a month? Damn. Oh. 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 I want her to see him again. I want them to meet again. I totally ship this. Damn, Natsume get the damn harem. She's great. Oh. Oh. Oh, I love her design and everything. I would cosplay as her in an instant. Wow. Oh. 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 I want him and Yuriko to meet again. Come on. You can't do that. You can't give us that and then not have them meet. You just can't do that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How could you not? What? Oh. Oh. What an episode. That was really good. I was invested in this girl. I want to know more. Wow. Well, how about that? Oh. All right. All right. Ah. Well. How is it that we just keep getting more ships for Natsume? Look, I love Tanuma and Natsume, don't get me wrong, and I am a fan of aged up Natsume with Natori. Now Matoba and Natsume, no. I like healthy ships, but you know, and here's my thing. It took me like until this episode to kind of realize that I kind of do think that Taki and Natsume for me are kind of like a friendship, right? They're a literal friendship. And now if you wanted to ship Tanuma and Taki, I totally get it. And I see it too as them both being together and being the friend of Natsume. But I kind of, whenever I view them as a trio, I see Taki as basically the beard, basically the friend of Tanuma and Natsume, who's like, it's okay if you guys are together, I'm your platonic bestie. And that's how I view Taki, because she just doesn't exude, I don't ever see her like exude that like attraction towards Natsume throughout the series. Now Tanuma and Natsume have a lot of chemistry, but Taki, she kind of seems more friend to me the more that we get into the series. But this girl, Yuriko, there was a spark there. There was like, even though, and I'm sure some people will be like, well, I just see them as friends. And that's totally fine if you want to view Yuriko and Natsume as just platonic middle school friends. But I think there could have been something there. She seemed like she was super okay and was one of the more open-minded people around her area that was totally fine with him. And it seemed like there could be a chance for them to like have gotten to know each other and stuff. It just, the circumstances at the time just didn't allow for it. So I was really hoping that in this episode, they were going to show her and Natsume seeing one another. And I was gonna be like, oh, that'd be so cool. No, we don't get that. And I'm like, what? So crazy talk. I'm like, are you kidding me? What? Just craziness. I'm floored. That's so interesting to me. I'm like, what? So yeah, let's talk about this episode. I was talking about it during the opening, but with Ivan's comment about Natsume having some like ideations as a layer of his character. If that theory that Ivan posited in the intro is true, then I wonder every time that Natsume is constantly like, if he gets hurt or something or has a scrape or something and Toko's like, are you okay? Is everything all right? That adds just another layer to it. It makes it so much more crazy and complicated, right? This episode was fun. I really liked this episode. It was a lot different than anything I've seen on Natsume before. And I think it's because it was mainly focused on someone that's not Natsume. And not someone that is a character we're probably going to see a lot. Maybe we'll see Yuriko in the future, which would be kind of cool. I like her character an awful lot. I would cosplay as her. My hair's not quite as wavy as hers, but I could make it wavy. But I could do the glasses. I have green eyes. I'm like, I could be Yuriko. I think I could just bandage up my leg. Wear my little green tracksuit pants. Like, she was so fun. And I like that she had a very Serena Usagi from Sailor Moon vibe, where she was doing bad on the math test and she was wanting to pray that things would get better. What was really interesting is that the spirit that said he hated Natsume, and all this, the spirit that said that is the one that saved her from getting hit by the truck. And I don't know if this show doesn't tell us, but I don't know if the spirit saved her because of Natsume, because he saw her with Natsume, or if he saved her because Natsume kind of changed his viewpoint and changed his mind on things, or when the little cling bug, which we'll talk about in a second, when it went back and told the others about meeting Natsume again, if that like influenced him or whatever. It took me a while. At first I was like, did the cling bug save her? Was it something else? But I think it was the scythe yokai at the end saved her from getting hit by a car, which was crazy. She nearly got isekai'd out of this series and got saved at the last minute, but her character was so much fun. It was so refreshing to go from a different perspective. And I think it was also really cool that we got to see in this story the perspective of someone from the outside looking in and seeing Natsume as a younger individual, because, oh, was Natsume different? We got middle school pre-adolescent Natsume, which I have subbed grade school, I've subbed high school, and I've subbed middle school. And everybody gives middle school a bad rap because it's all these kids with hormones and they're dramatic and they're going through puberty and they don't know what they're doing and they're kind of moody, and they're not wrong. I didn't ever mind subbing junior high and middle school because my thing is, if I can have a conversation with you, we're solid. Grade school was always challenging because, one, you have to actually teach when you sub grade school. You don't just sit there and be like, here's a worksheet, kindergartner, do it, and I'll sit here in the corner and watch you. No, you have to show them how to do it. You have to be able to teach. You have to be able to explain things to them. And those grade schoolers, if they find out that you don't know, it is vicious and brutal. They will scalp you all within an inch of your lives if they find out you're not adequate and you're like, ugh. So I was always nervous subbing grade school because little kids, it's like innocent chaos, but they're also very like, they're judgmental in the most harmless way because they don't really realize they're being judgmental. But if you don't do things like their homeroom teacher, they will let you know. They'll be like, well, Miss Moore doesn't do it like this. And I'm like, well, I'm not her. But they don't get that. So grade school is always my least favorite to sub because I just don't have the disposition to have a classroom full of small children. I just don't have that patience. But with middle school and high school, I love talking to those kids because they're a lot of fun and you can have conversations with them and they get it. And middle school, as dramatic as they can be, kind of like this, and as gloomy and like going through things as they are, they still were really fun to teach because you could just strike up a conversation with them and it was great. But anyway, that is all to say that I definitely seeing Natsume in middle school mode was interesting. So yeah, so she got saved here. I think one nice little kind of development is that we see Yuriko, her hair's a little bit shorter than it was in middle school, and she's gotten glasses. She's gotten glasses since her middle school days, which I think is interesting. It's like a nice little like passage of time. I really want her to meet Natsume and for them to see it. Like Ogata, Yuriko, I want him to see her again and for them to like go and like to have an adventure or something or an episode together. Like I want to see them interact now that it's been, a couple years, and I want her to see him thriving and flourishing and doing so much better. Like I want her to know that he's doing okay. I mean, at least her friends kind of like validate that for her and express that to her, but I'm like, I want to see it. I don't know if this is an anime original episode or not. I wouldn't be surprised if this is in the manga, but it seems like a one shot that the mangaka would do. I'll be really curious when we get to the manga to see if that's the case, but the animation was also really good for this episode. Like of her going down the stairs, nearly getting hit by the vehicle. Like the animation of all of it was just really solid. I loved it. Can we also talk about the fact that she has the Notori poster on her wall and it just said, it never fails to make me laugh that there's Notori looking all sensual and sexy and it says unloved. Like what? Even on her wall in the middle school days, you can kind of see in the background there's somebody that looks like Notori in one of the posters, which is really funny. So yeah. But I like that her friends are like, oh, you always are clumsy. But what's so interesting is that there's like the little Kappa like plush on her in her room that she had since middle school, which is so interesting to me. It's like she just has that illusion of she seems like she'd be open to the yokai and their presence because she has like the Kappa plushie and like some others as well, which is great. So, but yeah, this episode was so neat. It was great to see it from another person's perspective and to you from bygone days that she met Natsume. I also liked when we came back around and came full circle and the reason he kicked her was because the scythe spirit was behind her. But the funny thing was that she was in the way and he just like kicked her into the spirit. Hilarious. Also, it's so interesting. I want to know the moment that Natsume realized he could defend himself against yokai and bonk them on the head. I want to know when that happened, because this version of Natsume did not know he could do that. He did not know that he could bonk them on the head and that he could defend himself. He just ran away from them. So at some point, if we're looking at the timeline, at some point between middle school and high school, Natsume has figured out he can do that. And we just go from there. Which maybe it was the beginning of the series and I've just forgotten about it since he met Madara. It's been a while. We're on season 4, but yeah, so I kind of like, we get the idea in the town that they live in. It looks like a small town. It looks fairly big, but it's very rural. And she's just like, he kicked me, a girl. One thing that I think instantly speaks to Yuriko's personality and her dexterity of her character is that she doesn't tell the mom that Natsume kicked her. Like, I've watched some other slice of life-esque anime where the mean girl is like, well, he did this and he did that, and she's instantly complaining. And you're like, okay, cool. But I like that Yuriko doesn't, especially when the mom starts to talk about Natsume, the new kid. And man, this hit really close to home because it makes me kind of mad now looking back on it. But I remember when I was a kid, there was a girl that I went to school with, and her family was kind of like on the rough side of town. And her family, like her dad was like not known as a nice person or a good person. And I remember my mom was kind of like this mom at the time. She was like, oh, you shouldn't be friends with her because, you know, their family's kind of rough and I don't want you around her because you could be, you know, guilt by association. You can get in trouble. And looking back, I remember I did push her away as a kid because I was thinking that she was bad news. And looking back on it, I'm like, I felt kind of shitty watching this episode because I'm like, man, I wish I'd been like Yuriko and just been friends with her. And then it probably wouldn't have been, you know, she ended up moving away when I was older and I never saw her again. And it wasn't like a good circumstance move. It was kind of like this with Natsume. And I kind of regret that. Like, we were in grade school at the time and she moved around 6th grade. But I remember just kind of feeling like as I got older, I was like, that was a really shitty thing to do. And I probably shouldn't have done that. And it was just kind of based on what my mom told me, but I should have known better. And it really hit home in this episode because I was like, yeah, I wish I'd been like Yuriko and not been that way, you know? But this small town mentality of the kid with the bad reputation and knowing if his parents are the ones that took him from the last time we saw him in that one episode, if those are the same people that took him from there, that, you know, they kind of allude to the fact that the woman's an alcoholic and the dad at that time didn't look like he looked kind of shady. So, and who knows, this might be a totally different group of people that are just as worse. And it's like, oh no. So it just kind of sucks because Natsume is such a kind and good person, but he's just had this shitty home life up until he met the Fujiwaras and got shuffled from place to place and had a bad reputation. And what happens is when people are like that around you, what ends up happening is you kind of just accept it. And like Natsume just kind of builds up this wall. And so like, and the crazy thing is when we talk about in class, like this scene here where Natsume is looking out the window, there's all the girls talking about him and looking over at him and saying like, he looks so cool and everything like this. And at the same time, in this same scene, when we go back and see it from Natsume's perspective, he's like, oh, those people stopped talking to me. Like, he thinks that they all stopped talking to him and didn't care about him anymore. But from Yuriko's perspective, they were still talking about him. He just didn't know it. And it's like, pfft, like just that perspective difference and realizing the stuff that Natsume didn't realize and that she didn't realize, just getting to see both their perspectives in one episode was crazy. It was so interesting. And it just, seeing Natsume with the long hair look so shaggy and disheveled, it's really sad. And so the mom talks about how he makes stuff up and will be violent towards others. And she's like, I don't want you around him and make me sad. And then she sees him under the tree. And so she decides to go talk to him. And it's so weird. Not only seeing Natsume mad like we have in other episodes, but seeing him under the tree being like, who are you? What do you want? Like seeing him just kind of be like gruff and blunt and straight to the point. And you're like, Where's our innocent, sweet Natsume? Where is he? But he has this hard shell around him from where he's had to kind of do that to survive. And it's crazy to see, like, this show really hits home how important a good home life is. And it showcases that even the kindest, nicest, most pure-hearted person in the world, like Natsume, when they're in a bad environment, it does taint them to an extent, and it makes them kind of cynical and kind of like, I don't want to mess with anybody because I don't want to get in trouble, so I'll just stick to myself. And it's so sad. It's so freaking sad. Because then we go back to the present and see how great things are with Natsume, and you're just like, oh, he had it so horrible. Like, how can you be such a great person after going through all that? And he is a patron saint. But yeah, him just kind of like avoiding her. And he's like, oh, I was having a bad dream. And when I opened my eyes, I saw there's a monster in front of me. And there's little shades of like the Natsume that we know, that like when he smiles and laughs, like we kind of see that shade of him. And she has like the little blush, like, oh gosh, she's kind of cute actually, has that. But, and then the part though that got me out of this whole episode was she's like, oh, hey, you should cut your hair. It's a little bit long. And he's like, oh yeah, it is about time for me to cut it. And she's like, oh, do you cut it yourself? And he kind of like mumbles to himself. He's like, oh, you think I can ask for the money? And I was like jaw drop. Like, Natsume now would never have said that. And to her, for him to be like, oh, you think I got the money to do that? Like, I know kids growing up that would say something like that had shitty home lives. And I'm like, to hear our sweet Natsume say that. And she was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have asked that, because it gave that one line told you everything you need to know about his home life. The one line thinking is that he says, you think I can ask for the money to cut my hair? That said everything in one sentence that you needed to know. You don't need any other explanation of how his home life is. That sentence alone speaks volumes. I was floored. I can't believe Natsume did. And then he just saunters away. And like his clothes don't fit well and all this. It's wild. And then like him with his head down at the desk, like he's tired, which we know now he's probably been chased by yokai and everything. But him keeping this low profile like this, like it was just insane to watch in this episode. And then like the cat getting scared and running away because of the yokai. And like she got to see him try to be nice and see him like fighting back against everything. And I love the photos she has and like all the frogs and the cat on the bed. I love that she's like, he seems like a nice person. But the part that gets me is that she's like, I can kind of see where something would be in the mirror coming after me. And then the poster of Notori's in the corner of the mirror. So I feel like she was super open-minded and kind of got what he was maybe going through. But the part where he opened his umbrella up for him and was like, do you want to share it? Like, that was so sweet. And her just trying to be like considerate of him and nice to him. I was like, let them meet again in college. Let them meet again later. Like, I'm here for the bisexual or, pansexual Natsume agenda. I really am. What is the opposite of a disaster bi? Because that's Natsume. I don't think Natsume is a disaster at all. Like, he could get it with anybody. So I'm supportive. I'm supportive of them. I hate that mom. I'm glad that we only got the one instance of the mom being like, well, I'm worried you shouldn't be around him. And then she's like, there, I'm not going to listen to you, Mom. I'm glad that was the only time we got that, because I was like, if they make a point if the mom like goes to the county board meeting and like tries to make a point of him being, a menace, I was going to be kind of mad, but I'm glad it was just that one time. And also it's just the two of them. So there's that. Like, she can kind of, she doesn't have a whole family either. There was just two names on the plaque, so the dad's not there. So yeah, she still talked to the dad, and I like that she tried to, be Sherlock Holmes and was like, the glass broke on the inside, so that means that Natsume probably didn't break it. And of course, who's going to believe him? And then Natsume, of course, told her like, hey, it's okay. You don't have to stick up for me. It made me really sad. And I love that she was like crying as her friends were like, oh, Yuriko, what's wrong? And she's like, why won't anybody believe me? Why is he getting in trouble? And then he moved away. Oh, It's so sad. And she's like, I'm sure that you'll get somebody nice next time. And he always talks about how everybody's nice up until then. And then they always leave him, which is so sad. It just makes me feel so much more grateful for the Fujiwaras and the life that he has now in the series, because, and the show's really smart about that, because that's the thing, like, Natsume is such like a patron saint, and he's such a nice and kind person, and that type of character archetype, it could easily get boring if you don't do it right. Like, Natsume being like all sunshine and rainbows for the most part, you know, if you don't find a way to make that interesting, then your main character might kind of seem bland. But what makes Natsume work so well is, like, one, he's so compassionate that you just kind of fall in love with him. But the second thing is, his backstory is so horrifically sad that it really makes you so happy for him. Like, you see him like in the worst dregs of despair growing up, and you're like, oh, I just want the world for you. So that when you see him now thriving, you just love him so much more, and it makes you so much more appreciative of the story. You're like, oh, good, you're doing great. And you have to like look at all the bad things first to get to that point. So it just makes you really appreciate his character even more, and I kind of love it. So yeah, the two girlfriends who, I love everybody's fashion in this episode. It's great. But they like give her a hard time, and they're like, you had a crush on Natsume. And she's like, no, we're just friends. But I was rooting for them. I really wanted them to see each other again in this episode. Like the one yokai back in season 2 that like saw Natsume again and was like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you since you were a kid. Like, I wanted that sort of thing. I wanted a reunion. And maybe in the future we'll get it. Maybe Taki and Yuriko can become friends. They can become friends, hang out with Tanama and Natsume. We'll just make the book of friends even bigger. Like, I want that to happen. I want them to see each other. But I like that the one guy from their class is the bridge. He saw Natsume with Toko getting the groceries, and he got to like give them the update of all of them, which was great. But man, and I love that we switched and got Natsume's perspective as well. The little cling bug. Oh my God. So look, the little cling bug, Sinico or whatever its name is. Sho, you got to stop doing this. You got to stop making these yokai the freaking cutest things on the planet. You need to stop, because I'm going to want them all. And the thing of it was, it's not cute particularly when it's just standing still. When it's just sitting there, you're like, oh, it looks like a little paper starfish. It doesn't look particularly, or like a little ladybug with weird legs. It doesn't look particularly interesting. But then the animation of it, where it's just dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, like the little somersaults, I don't know. Sometimes the simplest animation is the most adorable, and I just fall in love with it, and I'm obsessed with it. And it just rocking back and forth and doing like little routines and stuff. I don't know, tiny little things like the little chick in season 2 where it was just dee 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 dee. Obsessed. I can't with it. It's too cute. I need you to stop. I can't put into words how adorable it is and how much I love it. And Natsume's Book of Friends just gives us the cutest yokai, and I'm just over the moon. Can't stop. And Madara's like, let me finish my dango before we get rid of Sunico. They're pretty harmless. It's so weak, it protects itself by clinging to humans. And then it's just clinging to Natsume, its little feet kick. Stop it. Cannot. Mm-mm. And Natsume is like, wow. He's like, I called them cling bugs. He's like, oh, you saw one before. He's like, yeah, it was the same one because it got me kicked out of a school. The sad part is Natsume is kind of like, man, I was really naive as a kid. He's like, it brought back a somewhat unpleasant memory, and that unpleasant memory was me getting kicked out of a school and taken away from my alcoholic foster parents. I'm like, what? So I like that the show shows us back during middle school, Natsume freaking out around all these yokai. And the crazy thing is, like, now Natsume knows how to deal with them, and it's like, because the cling bug, when Madara's like, oh, it's harmless, it just lives off people, it doesn't do anything crazy, and you're like, that got him expelled. So, or not expelled necessarily, that was the black scythe yokai, but at least got him to, like, he thought he looked weird in front of that group of friends trying to ask him questions. It's like, I hate that for him. It gave me a new appreciation for, at his school, not only when stuff goes wrong, that school's got a budget. They can take care of things. But I feel like it gives me a new appreciation for his friends and just seeing how, oh, okay, we're going to talk about this in a second, but his new friends and how they totally still accept him despite like his weird ins and outs and leaving the class and coming back and whatnot. Okay, so when we go back to that scene where he's looking out the window, in her memory, they're all looking at Natsume and being like, oh, what about him? And when we go back to Natsume's memory, they're not talking to him at all, which is so interesting. So it's like, who's telling the truth? Whose memory is correct? Ah, I love that. That's so good. I took a class in college about authorship, and it was such a fun class. But we did a thing about memory and how memory is so crazy because if you have, 10 people in the same room and an event happens, everybody's going to remember it a little bit differently, and they're going to remember different details about it, even though you're in the same place at the same time watching the same thing. Memory is wild, and it was a nice educational class about how we as humans write and how our experiences are so important because they're so varied from everyone else's. And we read like a book, for example, we read two books. One was from a father's perspective and one was from a son's perspective. But some of the events in the books were the same event. But when you read them, you're like, the father's experience and the son's experience were totally different. And so that's kind of like this scene here where Natsume and Yuriko, their experiences in that moment are different. So that's so cool. I love seeing that planet pan out like that. But man, I felt so bad when Natsume threw the little cling bug to the ground though, and he was like, I was like, no! Because we'd gotten so used to him being so kind and gentle to the yokai, and then just seeing him like smack this one on the ground, I was like, oh my god. And at least the good thing is the cling bug, actually, he finally got a chance to reconcile with it, and it realized he'd changed, and it was better. But I thought the design on the scythe spirit was interesting. He was intimidating at first, and then the longer the episode went on, the more I was kind of like, is he really going to keep that promise? Because I feel like he could catch him if he wanted to. If he really wanted to catch Natsume, he could. And also the tennis ball stuck in his mouth. Like, it's like a kid went to a park and just stuck the tennis ball in the statue and now it's part of him. That part made him a little less intimidating as the episode went on. And then when he finally confronted Natsume, Natsume's like, I'm leaving. He's like, oh, I'm like, you weren't going to hurt him to begin with. Like, this yokai just being a bully and following him and stalking him everywhere, it didn't have to happen at all. And you're like, but why? I just, that just got me. I was like, are you kidding me? No. Just, But yeah, I felt bad for Natsume because he also was in middle school. So at the time, he probably didn't know any better about the yokai. And now that he's in high school, he knows a little bit more. I think the worst part of the episode was that he tried to protect that kid from getting hurt by the yokai, not knowing any better, and then the kid cries and runs to his mom, and the mom probably thinks that Natsume's weird, and I'm like, he was just trying to save him. Like, this episode makes you feel so bad for him, and you just want the best for Natsume, and it hurts. But yeah, I'm glad that at least Yuriko stood up for him while he was there. And the best part for me after this, he's like, I thought that it was interesting that the spirit with the scythe, he said that I used to serve the god that was here, and my task was to take human disasters and suffer in their place, which, that's pretty heavy. And so Natsume's like, well, why did you bully me? And why'd you lie to me? And he's like, because I hate you. I was like, oh, so blunt. And Natsume's like, what? He's like, because you're a human and I hate you. So wherever you will go, so go wherever you will, but be gone and get out of here. And Natsume's like, oh. And it's just so sad because he's just like, no, he's like, no matter where I go, because he's like, what does he say there? He's like, no matter where I go, they always end up hating me by people and by them. Talking about like he drives people away and then the yokai end up hating him, which I feel like the yokai said he hated Natsume because he's like, you're a human and I have to suffer because of all your disasters and everything. And because I wondered if he was legit serious at the time because he ends up saving Yuriko in the end. but maybe he turned over a new leaf thanks to Natsume. I wish Natsume knew the impact he'd had on him. I wish he'd known that. But that was hard. And then I like that Yuriko tells him, she's like, you're not hated by everybody. And she's like, because I watched you. That got me when she's like, not everybody hates you. Some people have watched you and they like you. And I'm like, that was so sweet. Like, I'm 1,000 times here for this. I'm like, look at them. I think I want to take a picture of that to be the thumbnail, but yeah, I really supported them. I really appreciated that she was so kind to him, even back then. Ugh. And then, so Saniko finally, like, gets away from him and moves on, and he probably went to another town. If he goes back to where I'm from, I hope he tells the yokai and the people I met that I'm happy here. I just love that. I love that Natsume not only ended up in a place with the Fujiwaras, but he ended up in a place that, like, was kind to him and they could flourish and thrive. And seeing how he was, how gloomy he was as a middle school kid, like, I just wanted the best for him. And knowing that he's doing better now, it's like, oh, this was such a good episode. I love it. I would love more episodes like these. I like this just little one-off episode, but it gave us more into Natsume's past. It gave us new characters. It gave me new ships. I just loved it. So I'm really excited to hear what you all thought of this episode down below, if I'm being honest. So anyway, I'm super excited to hear what you all thought, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yes, next week we're going to have a two-parter with episode 45 and 46, episodes 6 and 7 of season 4 of Natsume's Book of Friends. Bye!